The Joy of Creation was one of the first games I ever reviewed on this channel, all the way back in July of 2016. It was merely an unofficial fan game at the time. To be here now, in August of 2024, reviewing the same game brought to life officially on Steam as a real Five Nights at Freddy's franchise game is utterly spectacular, and also a very real coming full circle moment for me and my channel. So I know I'm technically a bit late to the party, but what else is new? I did decide to check out the recently released demo for the game just to get a feel for what's changed in the past 8 or so years, and boy, does this feel like an entirely different game or what. The Joy of Creation has been rebuilt from scratch with an Unreal Engine 5, and you can just tell that this feels like a more modern game visually. The original Joy of Creation game had a very distinct, grounded, realistic tone, something that carried over quite nicely here, especially with the improved lighting and effects, which are perhaps a bit too improved. I played on an Intel i7 NVIDIA 3070 RTX laptop with 16GB of RAM, and even I noticed some pretty hefty performance issues when I first began playing. When I checked the options menu, I saw that the game had all of the graphical options set to very high. I kept model quality set to very high, but dropped the rest to merely high. This seemed to completely resolve the issue. I don't know what the issue is, but it's gone, so I'm happy. Also, and this is a very small separate issue, but the game for some reason initially tried to run in 1024 by 768 borderless full screen. I have no idea why, so just keep an eye out on that if you want to play this for yourself. For the record, I recorded all of this on my 1440p monitor and then downscaled the footage to 1080p, since that is my preferred YouTube format, at least for now. I say all this just to make it clear that there's no explanation for the game trying to run at such a low par of resolution. Also, while we're talking about options, I wouldn't mind having some basic audio sliders here. Personally, I've never found jump scares all that scary. I never really did, even as a kid. But I don't like loud, jarring noises in general, so being able to mitigate that more efficiently would be nice. For the time being, I just slightly lowered my headset volume. The only problem with that is that there are quite a few softer noises that you will absolutely need to pick up on without delay. The Joy of Creation, at least in this demo, is probably one of the easiest FNAF games to beat, if we're only counting the officially released games. But since I'm not that great at FNAF and thus failed to beat any of the games save for FNAF 1, FNAF 3, and Ultimate Custom Night, I really don't mind the Joys of Creation being on the somewhat easier side. The gameplay formula is pretty straightforward, at least so far as the demo here goes. You have 3 core gameplay mechanics at play here, all of which you'll consistently have to alternate between. First, you watch the monitors to check for animatronic activity. Here you've got 3 side-by-side computer monitors all on one desk, each one featuring on their screen a different security camera viewpoint. Secondly, when you spot an animatronic, usually Freddy, because Freddy's an asshole, staring you down from one corner of the room like some kind of deranged home-intruding pervert, you deal with him. Anyone who's already played FNAF 4 will likely be familiar with how this plays out. You're given a single basic flashlight which you can use to blind Freddy when he appears inside the house. He'll get mad, scream at you, and then bugger off for a few minutes. Each animatronic requires a different strategy. For Foxy, you just have to watch him on the camera until he teleports away. Chica will appear in your office randomly, forcing you to drop what you're doing and find the creepy cupcakes hidden randomly in your office in order to appease her. And then Bonnie is just remarkably shy and doesn't like being stared at by your cameras. Avoid looking at her and she'll do the same to you.
No, come on!
Finally, you have to be mindful of the power supply. Every few minutes, you'll start to see the lights flicker, or one or more of the computers may become unresponsive. Any of these can be contextual clues indicating that you'll have to reset the power or you're screwed. Resetting the power is pretty easy. You have to find these freshly charged fuses hidden randomly in one or more hiding spots throughout the main office room. You don't have all that much time to gather them, so your best move I've found is to just, whenever you have a chance to peek into the closet and tell Freddy to bugger off for like the 3rd time in as many minutes, use that fleeting moment of de-escalation to search for and grab a new fuse. Even if you don't need it at that very minute, you can hold on to it for when next you do. Always be prepared. One of the only problems I have with the fuse replacement mechanic is that the interface does not immediately make it clear what you're hovering over it at any given time. The faint illumination over your currently selected section of the fuse box isn't prominent enough to catch your eye. And in a game where every second can mean the difference between life and death, you really don't have time to waste trying to figure out what you're about to swap out. The story is not a huge factor here. What is there is a lot more overt in its presentation than the more subtle inferences that have historically spurred 100 or more game theory videos, but here it's not nearly as deep. All show and little substance, as it were. You appear to play as an indie game developer haunted by unsettling dreams and vivid nightmares, featuring your own video game creations and the legacy they leave behind. Yeah, this definitely isn't a self-insert character, is it, Scott? If you play through to the end, there does seem to be a bit more to it, but I don't want to spoil things entirely. One thing that impressed me above all were the animations. The developer, Nixon, did an amazing job with the physical movements here. There's a certain fluidity to the way you interact with the environment, a certain swish and flick, as it were. Then you have the animatronics, which are a complete and utter contrast, as every movement being a lurch or a snap, it's all very jarring. It does an excellent job of conveying the unsettling mechanical nature of the animatronics in a way I don't think we've ever physically seen iterated before in this way. It's a very distinct style for sure. Definitely a lot more stylized than anything we've ever seen before from a FNAF game, and I could see how it might alienate people for that reason, but as a standalone game, I quite liked it. While I did enjoy the demo for what it is, a small-scale sampling of what to come, I do hope there will be other levels or environments for the player to enjoy. This level was a perfect introduction. Unlike the first FNAF game, which slowly leads you by the hand on the first night, and comes across more like an interactive audiobook rather than a video game, the joy of creation throws you right into the deep end and tells you basically sink or swim. It gives you more than enough contextual clues to survive. If you die, and you will, you'll have no one to blame but yourself, and for me, I enjoy that. I don't enjoy dying because of bad luck or BS, but I'm okay with dying if it was merely because I did not fully understand or adhere to the clearly defined mechanics. I'm okay with learning to get good, as long as the game does a good enough job of teaching me how to get good. Overall, I highly recommend checking out the Joys of Creation demo. It's out on Steam now, and if you enjoy good, simple, single-player survival horror, this looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty decent forthcoming entry in said genre. The Steam page says that the game is currently set to release sometime in 2025. I like that. This is what a demo should be, not merely a marketing tool, but also genuinely as a means of gathering player feedback and data in order to substantially improve the game where necessary before its eventual launch. At any rate, that's where I'm going to wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to toss it a like, because that's always appreciated. And if you want to support what I do here, subscribing is always an option too. Let me know your thoughts on the Joys of Creation in the comments section down below. I do make it a point to read and respond to comments wherever and whenever possible, so I look forward to hearing what you think below. This is WarriorDan signing out. Stay awesome and peace out.